Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Richard McLeod. I'm a spokesperson for Lawyers for Vulnerable New Zealanders. We are a group of around 200 lawyers from across the country who have come together in opposition to this bill. And I'm here today in that capacity to warn our parliamentarians in the strongest possible terms about the dangers of the bill that they are considering in the House tonight. And I would like to direct the comments that I want to make today to our parliamentarians. As our parliamentarians, you have a duty, and our Crown has a duty, and your duty is to protect all New Zealanders, but most importantly, to protect the weak, the vulnerable, and the defenceless. And that includes our elderly, our terminally ill, our chronically ill, and those amongst us who lack the capacity to make decisions for themselves, informed decisions. Now, as lawyers, we often witness human nature at its worst in our work. We see regularly weak and vulnerable and defenceless people who are taken advantage of by others through acts of dishonesty, intimidation, and violence. Your duty as our parliamentarians is to protect these vulnerable New Zealanders. And that duty is particularly evident in the criminal laws that we have in this country around culpable homicide and assisted suicide. These are laws that have been in existence since we first became a country, and indeed for centuries before that time. Which is why, as lawyers, we have watched in disbelief in recent months at the fact that many of you, our parliamentarians, especially those of you who profess to champion the poor and the weak and the vulnerable of this country, hitch your political wagons to a bill which in its final form before the House tonight is going to fail those very people we are supposed to protect. In this form, this bill will significantly alter and diminish the protection that our law gives to New Zealanders. In so doing, it's going to expose weak and defenceless people not only to the profound coercive forces that are alive in our society, but also to the depredations of those around them who will be quite prepared to advance their own interests by influencing those people to end their lives prematurely. This bill contains numerous deficiencies, numerous problems, and numerous failures in both protection and accountability. Its so-called safeguards against coercion, for example, are completely inadequate in defending our country's weakest and most vulnerable against coercion. Now, we know that coercion and pressure in New Zealand can take a multitude of forms. There is the coercive forces of widespread elder abuse, the coercive forces of loneliness and marginalisation, especially amongst our elderly, the coercive forces of not wanting to be a burden. There's the coercive forces of a healthcare system that is pressuring many New Zealanders, particularly Māori, because of its failures in care. And in the face of these profound coercive forces that are at work in our society and in our health system, this bill's safeguard against coercion is just woefully and utterly deficient. It requires just one doctor to detect coercion in a patient. That doctor doesn't even have to know the patient. The doctor may not have ever met them before. The doctor is just required by the bill in an almost cavalier Kiwi fashion to just do your best to detect coercion in the patient. And the doctor is significantly impeded in that task by the fact that they can only speak to members of that person's family whom the person allows them to speak to. Now, our Disability Rights Commissioner, our Royal College of General Practitioners, these are this is the #1 regulatory body for doctors in this country, have told our Parliament through the Select Committee that that test for coercion is going to fail. That test for coercion will not